Today's video we'll be discussing generational trauma in the black community. I'm excited, man. Right, let's hop right straight into it. So, this is a school project that I had and did in school, but I think it's imperative for me to share it with you guys, okay? And so, I got all the facts and things of that nature. So, according to Bennett College News, right, black 63% of black people view a perceived mental health condition as a sign of personal weakness, right? 67% of white people reported feeling open to discussing their mental health issues, and 12.5% of black people reported feeling open to discussing their mental health issues, okay? And so these statistics alone show why the black community are just mentally messed up, right? Because we do not only do we not feel comfortable, but we view it as a sense of a a form of weakness for some odd reason, right? So, like I said before, we got to think about all the subconscious programming. So it's deeper than just us thinking this way. We got to break down why do we think this way, okay? And we got to get to the root of this shit, okay? And so my thesis was that past traumatic events such as racism and discrimination in the black community causes issues such as PTSD and emotional dysregulation. Therefore, it is crucial for the black community to be aware of their traumas and acknowledge them so that they can begin to heal through methods including trauma-informed therapy, yoga, meditation, and other forms of assistance, okay? So, literally, bro, the shit that we've been through in America, we literally have trauma from these things. So discrimination, you getting denied alone, right? Just because of the color of your skin. You get denied access to certain things just because of the color of your skin. You get denied the ability to just have the same rights that they give to other groups of people just because the color of your skin creates active PTSD. So it's deeper than just us experiencing inequality. It's not just about inequality. It's about the impact that inequality has on not only that individual, but that individual and generations later, because we understand that memories is passed down through DNA. So we have unhealed trauma. It's passed down from generation to generation to generation. Okay, so first we're gonna look at it from the psychological implications, okay? And so slavery and racial discrimination left a lasting effect on the survivors with a psychological impact. The symptoms of slavery and racial discrimination became an acquired behavior among descendants of these survivors. So like I was saying, so we understand that memories passed down through DNA. So say for instance, your mother got bit by a dog, and she from that point on had a fear of dogs, right? So that same fear could be passed on to you due to her unhealed trauma. Okay, and so this is called acquired behavior among descendants of these survivors. This is what I'm talking about, right? It get passed on, okay? And so I have evidence because, of course, in school they made me have evidence, okay? And so this could be seen through the author's article, right? So it was articles that I had looked up, and the authors, I was citing them. So we're gonna look at the evidence, okay? And so for the first piece of evidence from 2022, okay? Even when trying to become aware of the trauma, it may lead to people to feel helplessness. Though frustrated, will stop trying to change their circumstances, but they have to keep persevering. And so trauma can lead to many impacts. So not just you feeling as though that you're not worthy enough, right? It can make you feel helpless. It can make you feel stagnant. And we see this a lot in the black community, right? Self-sabotage mentality is literally common, right? It's ridiculous, bro, right? And it's literally because of the stuff that we've been through, right? And so the other piece of evidence that I have is many may argue that slavery was so long ago that it doesn't leave much of an impact on the black community, but study shows that the trauma of enslavement has been carried by African Americans through the ages. Like I said, if your mother was bit, if your mother had a fear of swimming in water, right, due to slave owners doing certain acts and certain making the slaves go through certain treatment, right? You know, often you may have a fear of water or fear of dogs, right? You may not understand this, but it's generational, right? So it's beyond you, okay? And so it's the second perspective we're gonna look at it from is culture trauma. Intergenerational trauma can break the bond between people and their culture because traumatic events can make people question and reevaluate their commitment to their role, their goals, their values, and their beliefs. As a result of intergenerational trauma, people lose their cultural identity and sense of belonging. Evidence. So my first piece of evidence was that from an article, and the author has stated that slavery has culturally led to cultural dislocation for many African Americans, which happens when someone's forced to leave their homeland due to conflict. This can lead to feelings of loss and isolation that can be passed down through generations. Shall I say that again? When someone is forced to leave their homeland due to conflict, this can lead to feelings of loss and isolation that can be passed down through generations. Okay, now we see this in the black community today, right? While we have no sense of genuine culture, we have culture, but a lot of the culture is intertwined with the fucking like the wrong culture, like gang culture, or you know what I mean. So it's not the type of culture that we really need. It's not the type of culture that our ancestors engaged and indulged in, right? It's a different culture because why? It has been tampered with. Our culture has been tampered with. It has been destroyed. Okay, and so we can see this from generation to generation. It leads to feelings of loss and isolation. Right? Now the second piece of evidence I have is that the lingering impacts of slavery causes so much confusion about inherited genetic habits as memory of slavery, cultural trauma emerged as an important discursive resource for identity formation within the black community, leaving many African Americans confused about their cultural background and history. So like I said, so it leads to a loss of sense of identity, right? So it's different. It's different, and this is why my people is different from any other race of people, because we've been through so much. Like, we literally not only lost our tongue, we lost our culture, but we really don't know who we are. And if you don't know who you are, how you gonna know who you then gonna become? If you don't know who you were, you don't know who you're destined to be, right? How are you gonna know who you could become? If you don't know that your ancestors built pyramids, if you don't know that your ancestors was walking around in golden sandals, if you don't know that your ancestors practiced and engaged in different spiritual practices, right? That would just in you, right? If you don't know that your ancestors engage in holistic healing, if you don't know these things, how can you then become the individual that's part of this greatness, that's supposed to indulge in these activities? Okay, so you don't know, so there's actively an issue of lack of knowledge of self. Okay, and so the third way we're going to look at this is emotional dysregulation. What is emotional dysregulation? Emotional dysregulation is a disorder of the body's ability to regulate and manage emotions. Due to unhealed generational trauma, it's common for emotional dysregulation to run in African American families like an invisible cord. So here's my evidence, okay? Emotional dysregulation is beyond simply not having control of your emotions. It's a transdiagnostic risk factor for many health disorders and develops in the context of early trauma exposure, right? Experts suggest that when emotional dysregulation occurs, there is a reduction in certain neurotransmitters' ability to function as emotional brakes, causing you to remain in a prolonged fight or flight response, right? So emotional dysregulation is a direct result of what my people have gone through, right? And it keep your brain in a fight or flight response. It changes the structure of your brain, literally. Okay, so the things that we go through is beyond just, like I'm gonna keep repeatedly saying, it's beyond just us not going and not having the ability to experience and get to have the opportunities as other people. This is the breakdown of the impact of that shit. This is the impact that come with that. It's not just you not being able to get along, like I said, you being denied the ability to have a house, you being denied the ability to set up your business, you being denied the abilities of financial opportunity, you being denied the ability of having to know who you are and your culture and what your ancestors, engaged in. It's beyond just that. It's a psychological impact. that lasts on generations and generations. Now you may ask, okay, what about a solution? How can we fix this? How can my people better themselves, right? So intergenerational trauma could be minimized through coping mechanisms like maintaining healthy routines, social support, and cultural identity. Furthermore, the black community needs to learn how to recognize, acknowledge, and accept their trauma so that they can access trauma-informed therapy, yoga, and other sources in order to heal. But like I said at the beginning, right? This is cool, but if 63% of black people view a perceived mental health condition as a sign of weakness, how can these solutions even work? How can these solutions even work, right? If my people have been so psychologically fucked that they can't even look at themselves and want to fix themselves due to just a form of self-sabotagement, right? Due to a form of self-sabotage, because we understand that slavery has the impact to lead my people to be self-sabotaged and to lead them to feel as though they're not worthy enough. They don't need to change. Let me stay stagnant. Oh my God, because it's just like generation over generation, you have so much unhealed trauma. It's just like, why heal it now, right? Why heal it now? But let's start now, because if not now, then when? There's no better time than now. At all, there's no better time than now. But limitations to this, right? It would take time to be fully aware of habits, including PTSD-like symptoms, and understanding the root issue, or it can become an issue because of it being generational. So like I said, right, this generational trauma is not just something that just happened this generation. This is generational top of generational top of generation. They said what? Slavery lasted what, 400 or 500 years? We talking about beyond that. Fucking slavery, fucking segregation, fucking Jim Crow, all this shit. We're not even talking about the ancient times to where my ancestors was really, like building shit, creating shit. So that's a whole different atmosphere, right? So these are limitations. However, these limitations are only applicable to a certain extent because we are great, so we could overcome this shit regardless. Right? And in certain ways you feel, just shadow work constantly, okay? And so, all right, so now I'm gonna talk about the implication. This was my conclusion, right? So through an analysis of psychological implications, cultural trauma, and emotional dysregulation, this paper argues that past traumatic events such as racism and discrimination in the black community causes issues such as PTSD and emotional dysregulation. Therefore, it is crucial for the black community to be aware of their traumas and acknowledge them so that they can begin to heal through methods including trauma-informed therapy, yoga, meditation, and other forms of assistance, okay? And this was my references. This shit is going to take time, but time is all my people have. Okay? Now we see these statistics. These statistics is very crucial. It's very imperative for my people to understand that. Right? That these folks, 67% of white people feel open to discussing their mental issues. But if my people not even open to healing themselves, how can we better as a community? You have to be open. And it's not weak. We've been so brain fucked to think that we're weak if we just simply try to heal and better ourselves. Like I said, that's a self-sabotaging mentality because that's the impact that slavery, discrimination, and all these things have, right? When you have a group of people repeatedly showing to you and telling you that you're not worthy enough, and even within your own family, your household, you may certain family members may fall into that trap and they feel as though they're not worthy enough and they project that onto you and you're just another kid growing up thinking the same way and this is a cycle on top of a cycle. Yes, it's hard to try to fix it and yes, it's hard to try to change how you think. It's so easy to fall into the trap. It's so easy to, but you have to be strong enough to be like, okay, I am not my thoughts. I am the observer of my thoughts. And I understand that my people has been so psychologically fucked to the point that we can't even really, honestly, everything from what we eat to what we hear to what we wear is to limit you. So we have to be aware of everything. Okay? And on that note, I hope y'all take this, like I always say, do y'all own due diligence. Take it with a grain of salt. I presented these facts, but I hope y'all, take it and become great. I like to see my people better themselves, right? Because it's not a crime to heal yourself, right? It's okay to be weak, but you have to accept it first. It's okay to not feel okay, but you have to accept it first. The first step to change is acceptance. After acceptance is up from there. So let's accept the fact that we've been fucked over. Let's accept the fact that it's a group of people that really want us to see us down, and still to this day they want to see us down, but it's okay, because yet we still rise, right? And we shall rise again. And it's our time to take this planet back.